Okay, so this is an introduction to my shop and a little bit of a cleaning montage. Um, I have a piece of butcher block for a customer that I need to work on, um, and I have to get it done by tomorrow, actually. So, well, rather this week. Um, so I don't know about you guys, but my shop ends up being a mess just after a couple of days of using it. It helps when I film videos, I've found, because I need to clean the surface for the next shot, but that's a new thing, so you can see the build up here. So that's a bunch of drywall that I hang on to because you never know when you're going to need to do a patch, but it's too much drywall. It's not that easy to get rid of. It doesn't fit very well in the residential trash, so usually I'll wait for a dump run to get rid of all of it if I have a big um, collection. So I'm kind of uncovering my table saw there. It's an old Craftsman 113 model. Not a lot to be said for it in ways of safety, but it does have a motorized lift and bevel, which I think is kind of neat. Um, I don't have any dust collection on it currently, so I honestly don't really use it that often. It's a project in the future where I intend to take off the legs and replace it with a cabinet that has a baffled kind of area going underneath the table there, and then I can add suction, either exterior. I have a dust collector I need to set up, or I was thinking about maybe adding just some sort of a furnace fan and maybe a furnace filter, and a series of baffles. There's room for it under the table there if I don't end up putting any cabinet carcass under there. So that's some door rock. I don't I don't recommend using. Actually, no, that's the hardy board, I believe. Um, I don't recommend using either of them. The Durock's a mess. It's very sandy, and the hardy board is just impossible to cut. Um, if you are going to be doing a shower project or tiling or anything like that, I would recommend using Go board or Curdy board. They're a lot easier to work with. You can just cut them with a knife. Uh, and the dust with these, it just throws so much dust when you cut it with a grinder or however you choose to do it. So that long piece of OSB with the 2x4s on it, that's the Durock. That stuff is very crumbly. I don't recommend using that either. But the long piece with OSB, that actually came with my trailer. I pulled it out and eventually uh, maybe might put it back in for a shelf in a different place. But in the meantime, it's just kicking around the shop, trying to find a good permanent home for it in the meantime. But you know how that goes. There's never a good spot. If you're wondering about the barrel off to the left, um, that's actually for electrolysis. Um, you'll see that in future videos. I'm gonna do a couple of restorations here and there of old tools and things that I have just laying around. You'll see them later in this video, the tools that I plan on restoring. So there we go. Bag 1 is down. Really need to get some dust collection going in that shop. Just something, even a box fan with a furnace filter on the ceiling or something, just to kind of clean the air. So, what do we got here? Just a piece of metal. Kind of a pack rat. I've got a toolbox laying around there somewhere that's just full of little pieces of metal that I think I might end up needing in the future. Uh, Eventually, I have a lathe at a different property that I plan on getting set up, but it's ancient, so it'll take a lot of work. It might be a video series. The planer, or joiner rather, that you see that OSB shelf leaning on. It's surprising how inexpensive some of those old planers are, and if you put a little TLC into them, they'll serve you fairly well. That being said, I do need to replace the belt on that currently. It seems to have gone. So, future video. Here I was thinking that I wouldn't do a voiceover and that people would want to watch me just wander around the shop without any other stimulation. Or, how long is this video? I think better part of an hour. So all of the tools that I've gotten there are very inexpensive or free. The bandsaw and the drill were the only ones I actually I think I paid for. The drill press there on the left and the bandsaw off on the right. And for the two of them, I think it's just a few $100s. If you spend enough time on Marketplace, those sort of deals just kind of pop up. The bandsaw has a gearbox that's 2 speeds for metal or wood cutting. I just use it for wood. I'll use a grinder, another tool for metal cutting usually. Here we're going for a ride. Or not. So I plan on setting up some more permanent wood storage on that wall behind that wood. I want to put some shelves so I can stack those pieces. A lot of them are actually from pallets out of Europe. I prefer the European pallets because I know for a fact that they don't use any chemicals. I mean, you can check the stamp that's on them in the U.S., but I just trust the European ones a little bit more if I see them. It's usually better wood they tend to use for them as well. So what they do, they just heat treat them for to get rid of any bugs, so there's not any spread internationally. That's going in the add to the truck pile. So we're making pretty good progress. So I do plan on frosting. There's where that moving blanket is, there's a window behind it, but I would be sitting there contemplating the best way to go about something in a chair by the workbench there, and I would lock eyes with the neighbors in their backyard. And I didn't really like doing that, so I put up the blanket. Just keeps coming. You know, you do one project and the place just turns into a tornado of materials and tools. So that is a crappy paper towel holder I made out of a dowel. It took me about 5 minutes, and it looks like it. With that tool wall back there, I knew it when I was doing the wall that this would be the case, but obviously I regret not doing French cleats. I just used screws for each individual tool. The neat part about that is there's actually there's a tanned outline of where each tool was, or is, or should be, so you can actually see it when you pull them off. Yeah, I'm not certain where to put that. We'll pan over to the right at some point here, and you'll see that really isn't a ton of unused space in the garage. So I'm not a big fan of that fence. It doesn't tend to straighten out when you lock it in, and I worry about kickback quite a bit because of that. Again, I really need to set up some sort of air cleaner in that shop, because you can just see those plumes. They're not going anywhere. So I believe that's actually a paintbrush, but I don't actually know what the use is for that style of paintbrush. If anyone knows, go ahead and hit the comment section. got a little bit of scrap wood there. And yeah, so my miter gauge isn't original for that saw, and I keep just trying to wear it in, but it's just a smidge tight. I took it completely apart at one point and shaved a few micron off the sides, and I thought that would do it, but it just hasn't done it. So I'm gonna have to do that again at some point. So pulling the nails out of my scrap there. Never know when I might pick up a tiny piece to add to something. Most of it usually ends up getting burnt. I don't use that much expensive wood that I feel bad about burning it. It's usually scrap wood or pallets or things like that. So here's one of the tools that you'll see later in a restoration. I may, if I'm feeling ambitious, get it mirror chromed, or I might just put it in the electrolysis tank and polish it up a little bit. So it is a usable tool more or less as it sits. I could just oil it. I would like to get all the rust off. I think the teeth need a little bit of attention as well on that. So sometimes you'll see me, oh, that's my drill corner. There's in that tackle box there, it's just full of loose drill bits I've collected over time. Always a use for an old coffee can. So you can see there isn't really much rhyme or reason to the way that I'm going about things. I'm just kind of picking things up as they jump out at me. As I uncover everything, I just notice, one more thing. There's always one more thing to be done. So that I used to use for paint projects and things. There's a bunch of PVC rings in there that would hold my paintbrushes, but I found better solutions since then. There's a couple of cast irons that need to go into the electrolysis tank at some point. So I don't know how much anyone knows about electrolysis, but it's a pretty neat process. It's not actually a chemical reaction that's cleaning the rust or what have you off of the metal. It's on the surface of the metal, the water actually separates into hydrogen and oxygen. Um, so the creation of that bubble actually dislodges the rust or the seasoning or whatever is on there. Looks like we're going for a ride now. So here's the radial arm saw. These things are infamous. Some people have trouble with them. Um, I've found that if you use them for crosscuts, they're they're a great tool. This one was free. They usually tend to be free, if not inexpensive. Um, if you get into ripping with them or changing the angles and doing a lot of more complicated cuts, I could see how they might get dangerous. But in the way that I have it set up, built into this table here, as a rough, um, it's a rough way to break down large pieces of wood. It works very well. There's some things that I think a miter saw is better at than this, and a miter saw is probably more accurate out of the box. But again, this was free, and it gets, I believe, the way I have it set up there, which is a pretty long fence. I get about 15 inches of cut across. It's also pretty good for dados. If you lift it up, you're able to set it at a particular height, and it's pretty easy to come across for dados. Again, it's free usually, and if you're careful with it, I don't see it as a danger in the shop. So with anything, it's just a matter of how safe you are with it. So a lot of people say that you should have a negative tooth profile for those, negative or straight rather. There's that pile off to the left is a couple of projects I plan on refinishing or working on. Really got to learn where the camera is. That should clean up nice. I think I might try to go for a mirror polish on that. Back to the radial saw. I have a normal pitch blade on there. Now I'm forgetting the term for it, but it's not negative. It's for certain. It's an aggressive pitch, and so what they say is if you have a pitch like that, it's more likely to grab onto the wood and try to climb up and over it, because it is spinning in a direction where it wants to roll towards you. So you are actually holding it back more so than pulling it towards you. I haven't found that to be an issue. It might be the way that I cut. I tend to just kind of do little bumps one at a time. So here we go. This is the planer mostly. Just a little motor there. I plan on adding to the radial saw, but planer drawer cabinet. Those are going to be some future restorations and used here and there. So again, this scroll saw was actually given to me. You can get some really good deals on scroll saws on Marketplace. The only issue is I've found they're generally only useful for cutting styrofoam or plastic. if you need something pretty precise for a layout. That's what they're good for. I put it on drawer slides there so I can pull it out when I need it. Um, we'll see if that ends up being a permanent solution. On that old Craftsman vise there, to get some wooden teeth or wooden jaws, I just cut out 2 pieces of I think 1 by in the shape so they slide over there. That's worked out pretty well for me. Things I don't want to mar. Here's that brush again. Again, if anyone knows what specifically that style of brush is supposed to be used for, go ahead and hit the comments, because I honestly don't. So I use a dowel in the back of this to lock it into place. There's a small hole in the top of the table. That keeps it fairly sturdy. It's got a little bit of movement, but it's serviceable. I do like that old vise. You can see I have a lot of Craftsman stuff in this shop. I think that the red and black Craftsman stuff was kind of the end of an era of building things to last. They were still trying to do that back then. It was the tail end though. But you see a lot of those red and black Craftsman tools still kicking. They're usually sold at Sears back then. The radial saw is a Craftsman as well, if you didn't notice that when we were looking at it. Down below, you can see that dust collector that I plan on setting up. For the moment, the radial saw just has a shop vac underneath of it, and you can barely see off in the corner. There's a switch there that I actually have, so for the plug for the shop vac, and that'll turn on the back for the saw. I think I'm kind of getting into it a little bit about this saw here. Again, I thought I would go with the audio of me in the garage, but didn't turn out that well. So you can get a pretty good angle of that drill press right now, and you know, they didn't come with a top. So, and the switch is there's just a toggle switch on the drill press, so it's actually near that belt. So definitely there's some downsides to using old tools when it comes to safety. You have to be very careful. So here I'm kind of talking about what I mean when I say ripping. I don't realize that it's caught in the track there, so you actually sink it a little bit into the table to stabilize it for the cuts. So you're cutting through. So that's what I mean when I say ripping. So sending a board through in that direction. That's where a lot of people run into injuries, and then people do some absurd things with these, where they'll pull it while it's like this across a piece of wood to scoop out a concave kind of angle, and or to make a bowl. like that. People do some strange things with these, and that's where I think a lot of the bulk of the injuries kind of were, that and people not being mindful of where their hands are when they're using it. But you know, it's just important that you never get too confident with a tool like this. Otherwise, that's how you end up with an injury. But here I'm showing how you could use a dado for it. You can just measure out the height like this. It's in my opinion, since you can see the cut, it's a little bit better than when you're doing it on the table saw where you can't see the cut. It's below the board. So I think you can get it a little bit cleaner initially with the rough cut. So I think we're coming up on everybody's favorite part here, the sweeping. It's amazing how much of a difference it makes. Because the floor just gets absolutely filthy from cutting things like Duroc and all that dust. So I bought that dust collector a while ago, and I honestly just haven't gotten around to setting it up because I want to do PVC runs for everything, and it's kind of a sort of yak shaving thing, and I might as well kind of explain what that is now, because it's one of my favorite terms for things in the shop. And I don't know if it originally came from a show called Ed, Edd n Eddy, but I think that's where I heard it. So the idea is that a farmer wanted to paint his barn, but he didn't have a paintbrush. So he needed hairs for the paintbrush. He made the handle first from wood, and he needed these hairs, so he went and he shaved his yak to get some yak hair so that he could make a paintbrush to paint his barn. And somebody asked him why he's shaving his yak when he was doing it, and he said, "I'm trying to paint the barn." So I'm always trying to paint the barn. There's usually an end goal in mind. I'm just a couple of steps away from it. I always hang on to my wire, thinking that I'm going to recycle it, but I actually have a big Tupperware overflowing with wire, and then I'll be doing a project, this or that, something with electricity. One of my videos that's coming up is I'm working with I'm putting solar panels on top of my trailer. I recycle solar panels in my spare time, which I have very little of. Where'd I go? I might edit this out. We'll see. I haven't really figured out the software yet. Frankly, the extent of my abilities is making this voiceover right now with video editing software. Never been a strong point of mine. You wouldn't believe how much work I had to do to get these iPhone videos onto a PC. That should be a video in its own right. So I really want to get some drawers underneath of that, underneath of the table off to the right and off to the left. That way it wouldn't be such a mess back there. So you can see it actually has an oiled gearbox. That's what that angle piece was coming out. When I first got it, and one of the reasons I got it for such a cheap price when I initially got it was stuck in only wood saw speed, and I, for some reason, took it apart completely and replaced the what's the word for it? The shear pin that allowed it to switch gears. But then I never use it for cutting metal, so it was a little bit of a waste of time. But you know, it's nice to know how everything you have works. Really is satisfying to see the difference in the shop when I sweep, because as you can tell, I don't do it every day, and you know, just having to walk over and around and avoid like just little pieces like that even is just makes every job that much harder. Some of you cleaning freaks are probably pulling your hair out with the idea that I would let my garage get to this point. I'm sure you the first thing you did when you moved into your place was ground down the cement, had it painted with the little epoxy flecks. Just know that I'm jealous. Get there eventually, but I went the long way around, where I now would have to pull everything out of the garage to do something like that. There's a lot of stuff that constitutes everything, so we'll see if I ever get there. So we have that. Oh, yeah, quite a mess there. In the front we have the plastic bit from my truck that still hasn't gone back on. Hopefully I don't have to drive over any bushes. Otherwise that would I guess I would miss that. I think it protects maybe a little bit the radiator hoses, but there's plastic under there as well, so So we got 2 bags there, I believe. 3 bags. Thought it was 4 total, so maybe there's another one coming. I think I'm leaving the desk there as it is for the moment. That's gonna be a video in its own right, just cleaning off that desk. Um, I've got those bins there in the front, and if I don't have time to figure out which bin something goes in, I'll just toss it on the desk. You never have one of those when you need one, but you always have one when you don't. You're always kicking it around. But it'll be that day that all you need to do is pump up your kid's basketball or something, and your compressor blows up, and you need something. So that's PV wire, photovoltaic wire, specifically used for exterior purposes. It's stranded, and it's for putting up solar panels. Photovoltaic is the way that those work, or the name for what they actually are. What they are is it's little flecks, like tiny flecks of silver suspended in a. It's not a polymer. I forget what it's called, but I still don't have a full understanding of it. But it's neat because there's no moving parts, and I just think it's an interesting technology. So that there is my two-handed tool wall. I've collected, there's my coal shovel. There's a bunch of axes and hammers and things on that stand there, and then up above are shovels and whatnot. Used to live on a larger piece of land that I needed all of that, but now it's mostly just for cutting wood and the occasional garden project. Sometimes I'll need it for a job. Here we go. I thought I disappeared again for a little while. Seeing that dust kind of floating up there, knowing I'm breathing that is making it more of a priority for me to install some sort of air cleaner. I think I don't think I would regret it. Watching now, I'm kind of upset with myself for leaving that extension cord in the ground. I should have cleaned that up before sweeping. Here I am trying to figure out what to do with that. I've just been shuffling it around the garage. It doesn't have a home. Oh, here we go, and then back at me. I think I'm just trying to throw it up into the rafters there, and it's just coming for me. Yeah, I think I thought better of that. If I'm not mistaken, I put it in the same spot that shelf ended up earlier. So I think a lot about organization and how I can be better organized, and I see other people's setups, and I wonder how they find the time to put that much focus into it, and I wonder if it's more of a less of a big lift all at once, the way that I do it, more of a just every day, a little bit of cleaning up and organizing that leads to, like, maybe some people, they sweep their shop every time before they leave, and that just leads to them not leaving anything on the ground, or they just account for cleaning up as part of a project. I tend to only look at the hours that I'll spend actually doing the project, but I think if I start accounting for the time that I would need to spend cleaning up, that I think I would benefit more as a business owner if I accounted for that sort of thing, and it just, because it does add up. These hours, if they aren't loaded onto any one job, then it's just overhead that kind of whittles away at the total profits, because it's time that I could be spending doing something more lucrative. So yeah, these trash bags aren't going to fit this week in the trash, and maybe I'll do a dump run sometime in the near future, but for the moment they're just going in the bay. So business owners with similar businesses. Oh, here we go. Here's the desk. With similar businesses to this, how do you handle cleanup and things like that? Do you account for that time with every quotation, or do you kind of spread it out? Do you do the big lifts like I do, and just kind of try to catch up? What do you do? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.